everyone, Don and Ash here.
Hello.
Back for another reaction video. This time we're going to be going back into the Necrit League of Legends videos with the how old are champions according to lore. So I know we have a couple more Necrit videos to do that are attached to League of Legends. So we're going to do this one and then jump into the how powerful are champions according to lore. And then finally get into the MMO bosses, raid bosses, etc. I think that's a good progression. And yeah, honestly, I think that like we don't know all the champions in the roster or anything or in the story or the lore, but we do know a fair bit of them, and I think it'll just be cool to, I mean, yeah, get to know where they are according to each other. Like, who's the most ancient one?
Yeah. I just want to see how they like in comparison to each other, where they end up on that timeline of things. And I think we're gonna be surprised by a few of them.
Yeah, for some reason that when you say that, I'm just like, I'm thinking for some reason of comparing Zoe to Aurelion Sol or something. Like my brain just went like, okay, I know Aurelion Sol is old or whatever, but Zoe is also an aspect, and we don't know much about Zoe. I haven't done her voice lines or anything,
Yeah.
so I was just like, when you said surprise, I was like, yeah, you know what? There might be some like her being an aspect, but she's so young. But watch her be like 10 bajillion years old.
Yeah. Like she just hasn't aged.
Yeah. So anyway, let's dive into it. I can't wait. Let's go!
So, after a very long time, it seems like I'll be remaking the most popular... Wait, formerly most popular video on the channel. We'll be talking about how old champions are according to the lore. Years ago when we talked about it, we didn't even have the official timeline. That's why by now it is heavily outdated. But even after we got the timeline in the Realms of Runeterra book, we still didn't know what was the current year. The last event mentioned on the timeline was when Swain took over Noxus, but that also happened a while ago. Thankfully, then comes the Ruined King to the rescue. As the Ruined King game was released, we got an extra timeline that extends to the present day. So right now, we know that the present year in Runeterra is 998. So we are 2 years from the Noxian big anniversary. Speaking of which, here is how the years work. When we go into the negatives on the timeline, remember that we have to add 1000 years to the age, because we also have 1000 years that goes into the positive side. And the moment humanity started counting years was when Noxus was founded as an empire. That is year 0. So, know that this video will be the most accurate way to pinpoint the age of all champions. A lot of people mentioned that a writer said this and a writer said that. Forget all of that. We are going way more accurate. I have read the lore of all 158 champions. With their average of 5 pages of lore per champion, it means I roughly read the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy worth of content. But it was all exposition about the champion's origins. Still, to make sure I wouldn't miss a major detail, I streamed this research live. And it took us 9 different streams to complete the list. Still, remember, the lore of League of Legends is massive, and it is easy to miss something. So if you noticed something I didn't, let me know in the comments below. Also, remember, not all champions have their age written down. There will be a lot of estimating too, but I'll let you know when that happens. Finally, I'll try to go alphabetically, but I'll bunch some champions together whenever it makes sense. So now, with all of this said, without further ado, let's tackle this monstrosity.
He says further ado
Starting
too.
with
Okay.
Aatrox. He was very easy to pin down since we know that he was there during the rise of the God Warriors. So he is roughly 5,998 years old. When it comes to Ahri, her story in the Ruined King mentions that she is at least a century old, so she is definitely over 100. But she is more likely 200 years old, since she mentioned that she is older than everyone else in the Ruined King game combined. Akali is an amazing proof of something you may not realize. Champions are older than you think, and that's because the story keeps progressing, and the years go by. You may think that Akali is, what, 19 years old? 21? Well, in reality, she is 29. We know this because her story mentioned that she was 14 when the Noxian invasion happened. Since the Noxian invasion took about a year to start, and more importantly, since the Noxian invasion happened 14 years ago, it is right here on the timeline. We know for a fact that Akali is 29 years old. This is set in stone.
Yeah, not
When
surprising.
it comes to Akshan, his age is not referenced anywhere. He might be around 30, but it is a pure estimation. Alistar is about 300 years old, simply because his story mentions that he is centuries old. When it comes to Amumu, we don't even know what he is. If he's a Yordle, he's immortal. If not, I have no idea when he lived. Nivea is over 10,000 years old, because her bio mentions that she lived before mortals in Freljord, with the first mortal war happening in the First Lands, also known as Ionia, 10,000 years ago. Also, remember, she had to be there during the War of the Three Sisters. Annie, and you might not believe this, is 9 years old now. She is definitely not the child she is in the game. We know this because her bio mentions that she was born during the last years of Borem Darkwill, which is when Swain took over Noxus. Aphelios has no reference anywhere. He is roughly 26 by pure estimation. Ashe and Sejuani are both similar age. We have seen them in the comic, but it is still hard to estimate their age. We know that Sejuani is Udyr's daughter, so if Udyr had her at the age of roughly 26, Sejuani and Ashe would be roughly 30, and Udyr would be about 56. Aurelian Sol was there at the beginning of reality. When Azir lived, his bio mentions that he was 15, then quote-unquote years passed, and then another decade happened. So by the time his failed ascension happened, he would be around 30. So in the present days, Azir would be 3031 years old. Just like Aurelian, Bard was there at the beginning. Blitzcrank would be roughly 8, because that's when the major chemical spill happened in Zone. Brand has to be older than 519, because he burned down Raigan's Reach when he was about 19, and apparently it happened many centuries ago according to the map. Braum is likely over 60, but it's a pure estimation. All of his lore are legends. Caitlyn seems to be older than Vi, but it's just a theory. We'll talk about Vi in just a bit, but by pure estimation, Caitlyn has to be about 33. Despite everyone thinking that Camille is ancient, in reality she is about 80. We know that she killed her balding brother, who died at the age of roughly 70, with another 10 years going into the present. Cassiopeia starts a really crazy chain. You see, she was older than Sivir during their story. Sivir also has no reference in her lore, but if Sivir is roughly 30 in the present days, Cassiopeia would have to be about 35, but she is the youngest daughter of the Dukuto family, which means that by connection, Katarina has to be older than Cassiopeia. So right now, Katarina might be over 35 years old.
What was the connection
Cho'Gath
there?
has no lore. Corki has no lore. Darius has to be over 40. We know that he was 32 during the comics, with about 8 years going into the present days. Diana and Leona are both pure estimations. However, in their recent story called Rise With Me, we learned that Leona was shield-aged, while Diana wasn't. Now, if shield-aged means that Leona was about 16, you know, the point when she starts taking on responsibilities. First of all, it would mean that in the story where they kissed, Leona would be 16 and Diana would be 14. But even if we raise it up by 2 years, so that the shield age is 18, Diana would still be 16, and their estimated age would be 35 for Diana and 37 for Leona. Mundo is about 28 years old. He was about 25 when he became a bodyguard. Draven is over 36 years old. He is Darius's younger brother. Now, normally I would guess that Echo is about 23 years old, but he might be a lot closer to something like 26, similar age to Jinx, who is Vi's younger sister. With Vi being roughly 30, with the only reference being a loose connection to Renata, where Renata mentioned that Camille might be connected to the murder of her parents. So if Vi was found in the ruined alchemy lab of Renata's parents, that happened over 30 years ago. This also means, because Renata's parents died when she was 15, Renata would be over 45 years old. Elise is about 300 years old. Her bio mentions that she is centuries old.
The guy's face.
Evelyn is 1011 years old. She was born during the Rune Wars. By a pure estimation and relation to the other champions, Ezreal would be about 27.
I was gonna say, for Evelyn being at over 1,000 years old, I guess
Yeah.
all you have to do is like seduce people at that point. Like you gotta get bored with life, right? You gotta do something to spice it up. So that's I figured it out. That's why she's so turned on everybody all the time.
Fiddlesticks, being likely a primal demon, might have been there since the beginning as well.
Question mark.
Fiora is estimated to be roughly 30, because she was 18 when Jarvan III was still alive. Fizz has to be over 10,000 years old, since he lived before the Landwalkers.
I haven't seen him.
No.
Gangplank is estimated to be 50, based on the story he has with Miss Fortune. With Miss Fortune being roughly 30. She was 11 when her mother died, when Gangplank was roughly 30. Garen is estimated to be 28 years old. That's because he was 18 when Tiana became the High Marshal, which, Sona's story revealed, happened when Lord Bevel died. So that had to happen about 10 years ago. Connected to that, we also know that Sona is 21. That's because she was 6 or 7 when the Noxian invasion happened, which once again happened 14 years ago. So yes, Sona is only 21. Lux has to be about 25, since she is Garen's younger sister. Jarvan has to be about 28, because he is similar age to Garen. Xin Zhao is interesting. He should be roughly 58, because he is about 12 years younger than Jarvan III, who was very old in the comics. So if Jarvan III was about 70 when he died, Xin would be 58. Quinn should be 27. That's because Lord Bevel died 2 years after Quinn was about 15 years old. This was all in Sona's story. And because of Sona, we know it happened about 10 years ago. Nar has to be over 9,000 years old. He lived through the Three Sisters.
Over
Gragas might
9,000!
be about 50. It's a pure estimation, but we know he drank with Ashe when she was already the War Mother. Graves is estimated to be 45. That's because he spent a long time in prison. And based on his age, Twisted Fate should be about 40. Gwen is 1 year old. You can find her in the Ruined King game on the Shadow Isles, and we know exactly when that happened. Of course, you may argue that she was alive even as a doll on Kamavor, and if you count that, she would be 1010. That is if she was made when Isolde was 13. Now let's bunch together the entire Kamavor. If Hecarim was 32 during the Ruination, which happened 1023 years ago, Hecarim would be 1055. This would be the same age as Grail, the Warden of Thresholds, which is the real name of Thresh. This also means that Viego would be slightly older at 1060, with Callista being his nephew at 1035. Which also means that Yorick would be 1051,
They're all
which
just old.
is the same age as Necrit. And above all of them, we have Vladimir, who is Viego's distant uncle. However, despite being related to the Kamavorian royal family, he is 500 years older than the rest. That's because Vladimir was there during the Darkin War, which happened 550 years ago, plus the current year, plus the fact that he was taken by the Darkin at roughly the age of 21. So he's 1569. Heimerdinger is a Yordle. He's immortal. Also, he has no lore. Illaoi might be 45 by a pure estimation. She should be a bit younger than Gangplank. Irelia is 28. She was 14 when the invasion happened, and that happened 14 years ago. Ivern is over 8,998 years old. He was a Freljordian warrior from the age of the Three Sisters. Just like the other primal spirits, Jaina should be over 10,000 years old. If you wanna be more accurate, she should be about 6,000 years old, because we have records of her from ancient Shurima. Jax is over 3,500 years old. That's because we know he was there when Icathia rebelled. Jace is estimated to be 30 because he is similar age to Victor. And we know that Victor should be 30 because he was 19 in the bio before he went to the university, where he was for about 3 years, plus another 8 years into the present days. Jin, and I swear I didn't do this as a joke, is anything between 40 and 44. That's because it is estimated that he was over 26 years old after the invasion happened, which happened 14 years ago. Kaisa can't be older than 19. That's because we know that she spent 10 years in the void, and her bio mentions she was less than a decade old back then. Also, it was confirmed that she is younger than Talia. Now, Talia was confirmed to be 24 in a tweet, but here's why that tweet should be wrong. If she was 16 during the invasion of Ionia, that would be 14 years added on top of that, and so in reality, Talia right now is 28. But yes, it still means that Kaisa is younger than her. Karma is about 34. In the bio, it is mentioned that she was 12, then quote-unquote many years happened, which let's say is 8, and then you add the 14 from the invasion on top of that. Karthus can't be older than 649. That's because he was a kid in the slums of Noxus, and Noxus exists for 649 years. Pantheon is 68. We know that he ascended 40 years ago, and he ascended at the age of roughly 28. Also, we know that Iula, the wife of his best friend, was 68, so it matches the number. Kassadin should be 47. He was about 28 when he had Kaisa, so you add her age on top of that. Gale should be slightly more than 706. She traveled to Demacia before it was founded as a kingdom, which happened in 292. That's minus the current year. Morgana is her twin, so they are the same age. Kain has to be less than 24. His story mentions that he was no more than 10 when the invasion happened, 14 years ago. Kennen is over 10,000 years old. He remembers the ancient wars of the First Lands. Kha'Zix is estimated to be 10. It's a pure estimation, but the void evolves really quickly. Kindred are there. Glad is a Yordle. He's immortal. But he was first mentioned during the Battle of Droon, which happened 1398 years ago, so
Perfect.
he has to be older than that. Kog'Maw is estimated to be 6, since he was summoned by Malzahar, and Malzahar's reference is quote-unquote years since. LeBlanc is over 1398, because she was there during the reign of the Dark Revenant. Lee Sin should be about 39. It is an estimation, but he was a boy at Shojin, and then years passed before he met Udyr. Lilia has quite a massive gap. She can't be older than 8,998, because she was born after Omikaelan was destroyed, so it is after the story of Ivern. But she has to be at least 40, because a figure similar to Yasuo happened to appear in her story, with Yasuo there being about 26. So Lilia can be anything between those two numbers. In reality, I'd say she is over 1,000, because after the invasion happened, aggressive thoughts started invading her dreaming tree. Lysandra is over 9,000 years old. She is on the timeline. Lucian should be over 32. According to the comics and the timeline, Senna spent 5 years in the Lantern. If that happened at the age of 25, we got about 7 or 8 years into the current days. Which also means that Senna would be 34. Lulu is a Yordle. Malphite can't be older than 3,500, because he was created after the Icathian War. Malzahar is about 35, but that's absolutely a pure estimation. Maokai is over 10,000 years old. He came to be before the first living memory, so
Another
it had
tree?
to be before the First Lands.
I see
Master
you
Yi
too.
is about 35. He was 15 in the story with Doran. Then he was over 20 when he became a master, because they all called him a young master, and then the Noxian invasion happened 14 years ago. Mordekaiser is over 1400 years old. His reign ended 400 years before the present days. Nami should be more or less 18. Her bio mentions that she became the Tidecaller at the age that's anywhere from 10 to 19, and then she spent 2 years looking for the aspect of the moon. Theoretically, she can be 12, realistically, she is about 18. Nasus is over 3,500 years old. He served the Empire before Icathia. Renekton is the same, just slightly younger. Nautilus is anything from 211 to 110. He lived after Bilgewater was founded, but we also know that his former crew died, which likely happened about 80 years ago. Nico is estimated to be 230. 200 is a pure guess based on her bio, but she also met Nidalee when she was about 30. Also, based on the art alone, Nidalee in the present days should be about 35. Nocturne can't be older than 1011.
Which one was
He
her?
was born at the end of the Rune Wars.
The
Nunu
girl, I
is
think.
estimated to be 8. His bio mentions that he was 5, and then, quote-unquote, years came and went. Willem should not be older than 9,000 years, because the Yetis were wiped out during the War of the Three Sisters, with Willem being a Yeti magic that was left behind after the war. Olaf is a pure estimation of 40. Oriana is estimated to be about 26. She was pure human until 18. That's when the chemical spill happened and she got corrupted, and connected to Blitzcrank we know that happened roughly 8 years ago. Ornn is over 10,000 years old, just like Anivia, and the same goes for Volibear. Poppy has to be over 706. She is older than Demacia. Similar to Galio. But Galio is younger than that because he was created after the foundation of Demacia. Pike is estimated to be 45. He would be roughly 35 when he got corrupted. Kiana is estimated to be anything from 18 to 20. Her bio keeps reminding us that she is very young, and she started mastering her elemental training at the age of 7. Rakan is about 100 years old, similar to Zaya, who lived for about 70 years. You know, the Vastaya live longer, but she also remembers when the Vastaya started making deals with humans. If you add the invasion of Noxus on top of that, both of them would be roughly 100 years. That would also match Ari. Rames's age is okay. Really, we don't know. Rek'Sai has 5 lines of lore. Rel is 16. Her bio straight up mentions her current age. Rengar is estimated to be 60. The
That's my
only
dude!
info on his age is when a human helped him, quite a few years ago. Riven should be anything from 26 to 29. She was young when she was wielding a longsword. That would be at about 12 to 15.
That sword's
That's when
huge.
she was taken by Noxus, and then the invasion happened. Rumble is a Yordle. Rise is over 1011. He is slightly older than the Rune Wars. Samira is estimated to be 32. She was taken into Noxus when she was about 16 years old, then she had 2 years of military training, and then whatever time passed into the present days. Seraphine is estimated to be 18, though her lore happened very recently, so she might not even be 18, but that's all guessing. Set is hilarious, because everything points at the fact that Set would be 14. First of all, his mother is a Vastaya. Who knows how quickly the Vastaya age? But his father was a Noxian in Ionia. First of all, Noxians started traveling to Ionia during the invasion. Now, it is possible for a few Noxians to be there before the invasion. However, Set's father was a pit fighter in the Noxian pits in Ionia. And those were definitely built during the Noxian invasion. It was mentioned multiple times during the Sisterhood of War. Also, Set's bio mentions that there were scores of soldiers fresh to the shores of Ionia. All of this points at the fact that Set might actually be about 14 years old. Shaco.
The man has facial hair. He is not 14. Alright, something's going on there.
Doesn't even exist. Shen should be about 38. The flashbacks in the comic happened 21 years ago, and those were roughly when he was 14. Also, in the comic, the Noxian invasion happened 10 years ago, so we know that the entire comic series happened 4 years ago. So Shen should be 38, with Zed being younger at 35. Shyvana might only be about 20 years old.
Whoa.
She was described as young woman. However,
Looks
she
sick.
was born as an egg in the batch of a dragon known as Yiva. Then Shyvana was stolen away, and Yiva waited for all the other dragons to take flight before she herself went out to find Shyvana. which means that Shyvana's age is however long it takes for a dragon to learn how to fly. So she should be about 20, if not less than that. Singed is 75 by pure estimation. If he was a professor at 30, which is roughly when you normally become a professor, then he had years of research, and then the invasion happened 14 years ago. Sion should be over 100 years old. He should be slightly over 100 because he killed Jarvan II. So if Jarvan III was 70-ish, then it was that plus the age of his father when he was born. Also, Sion's bio straight up mentions a century. Skarner is kinda a mystery, but we know that his race, the Breckern, are over 6,000 years old, because they were there long before the rise of Shurima's greatest empire. Soraka is a Celestial. She was there from the beginning. Swain is estimated to be 50. He was part of many conquests, and he was roughly 35 by the time the invasion happened, so you add 14 on top of that. Silas is anything from 27 to 30. He was imprisoned at the age of roughly 12, but we know that he was imprisoned for 15 years. Syndra is estimated to be over 300 years old, because she was locked underneath Phalor, and it was mentioned that Phalor stood for centuries. Tahm Kench is a demon, who knows? Talon should be over 30. It's a pure estimation, his lore has 3 paragraphs, but he should be similar to Katarina. Tariq should be 28, similar to Garen. Teemo and then all the rest of the Yordles, including Veigar, Tristana, Vex, Ziggs and Yuumi, are all Yordles with no reference to time. Trundle is a pure estimation of 80. We have no idea. Tryndamere is estimated to be over 32. He should be older than Ashe. Twitch has 3 sentences of lore. Urgot is estimated to be 50. He should be similar age to Swain, since Swain sent him away during the last days of Boren Darkwill. Varus, as in the Darkin, is over 5,998 years old. But the 2 humans who share his body, Valmar and Kai, should be 35. They were about 21 when the invasion happened. Vayne should be roughly 30. Her parents died at the age of 16. She earned her first kill at 18. And then several years went by before she got in touch with the Witch of Freljord, and then you add the present days on top of that. Vel'Koz is estimated to be 6,000 years old. His story mentions that he existed thousands of years before Icathia, which happened 3,500 years ago. But we also know that he is a creation of the Watchers, and the Watchers started influencing Runeterra 9,000 years ago. So realistically, he should be about 6,000 years old. Vorik would be a pure estimation. His past is a mystery, but if the Vander theory holds, he would be about 55, if Vander was about 48. Wukong lived for countless years. That's all we know, but he might be about 100, just like Ahri. Xerath should be 3,035. He is slightly older than Azir. Yasuo might be about 39, since he would be about 15 years older than Talia and Riven. That would also make Yone 42, since he is Yasuo's older brother.
One of my favorites.
Is about 7. It's an estimation, but we know he was a sentient pool of dirty water before he was refined.
Flubber!
The story is also related to Saito Takeda, who has not been a baron for very long. Zillion is over 3,500 years old. He is an old Icathian mage. Zeri might be about 19. She is younger than Echo. Zoe is between 1,000 and 1,550 years old.
I knew it!
Her story is likely happening before the Rune Wars, so she has to be over 1,000. But she can't be older than Maisha, who was the previous aspect of Twilight, who was there during the Darkin War. And lastly, there is Zyra, who was born during the Rune Wars, so she would be 1,010. And that was the canon age of all the champions. Once again, it is definitely possible that I missed a detail or two, and that might have been crucial enough to pinpoint the age exactly for some champions. But I'm still confident as I say that this might be the most accurate list when it comes to the age of all champions. It really took us a really long time to put it all together, and you can't imagine how much work went into it. So, see you in 4 years when stuff gets retconned and I have to do it again.
Yeah. All right. So you know what? Honestly, throughout it, I wasn't surprised at most of them. Like
Yeah.
because most of them you can kind of just guess old, young, old, young, old, young. But I was waiting for that Zoe one, and then like obviously I knew from the beginning he was doing it chronologically or alphabetically. Sorry. But when he got to the as soon as he started getting to the end names, my brain started cluing in. Like he got to Vane, and I was like, oh, he's almost at the end. And then he finally got to Zoe, and I'm like, how old is she? Right? So yeah, some of them I knew, like the demons, I didn't expect to get an age on them, just forever,
Because
like
yeah.
a million years old. Like the aspects, I didn't really imagine we are gonna get an age on them, but we did. You know, for like what's his name, Pantheon, being around 55ish or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
most of them didn't surprise me, but it was cool to get a specific number on like some of the ages that we got were kind of guesstimations,
Yes.
and other ones it was like you could definitely pinpoint based on other
For
points in the
sure.
lore. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was cool to definitely like you said before we watched it, be able to place everybody along the timeline.
Yeah, and it was really cool to see that a lot of them are actually around the same age as each other. Like everyone, or a lot of them seem to be between like in their late 20s, early 30s, somewhere around there.
I honestly think that's done to like have people be able to relate to the characters. You can't just
Yeah.
have like a whole cast of demons or a whole cast of ancient gods or a whole cast of, especially with how many they have.
Yes.
Like, could you imagine like 150 of the champions were like in their 70s to 90s? People would kind of be like, "Do I want to play this game?"
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
It just
yeah.
doesn't. Yeah. So yeah, that's to be expected, I think. But you know what? Some of the details honestly surprised me. Like, they talked about like Kiana being so young when she learned how to control the elements, or like Vayne getting her first kill at 18.
Yes.
And all I could think
yeah.
of was like, I'm like, so what? I'm like, Annie's 9 and she literally burns people to death. And I was like, she has a bear that mauls people to death. Who are you?
Seriously,
And
yeah.
she's 9. So the only person younger than her that I remember is Nunu.
I was gonna say, yeah, Nunu was
He's 8. He's 8.
Eight.
So I think they're the youngest. Willem,
Or
sorry, Nunu being 8, Annie
yeah,
being 9, and Willem being like 1,000+ years old or whatever he was.
yeah. And is it Zach, the green flubber guy?
He's
I think
it was 7 or 8.
7. I think it
Oh,
was 7.
maybe he is the youngest then. Well, okay, I'm gonna say that non-created, like that are human. You know,
I was like,
yeah, they're the youngest.
and Gwen.
Oh my god. So, well, okay,
When
so
it said
I'm gonna
one,
say
I was like, one.
yeah, no, I'm gonna say human, right? Because the
Yeah.
other things can be made whenever, like in labs or blah blah blah.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, Gwen surprised me. I wanted to go like I felt like the second age that he went with the if she was made when
Yeah. When
Isolde was 13,
Yeah.
Gwen would have been like 1,000+.
Yeah.
I agree with that way more.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, 1 year old,
I think that was
and she's sitting there, and she's sitting like chop chop,
Yeah.
chop chop.
I'm like looking at her and I'm like, one. But yeah, I think that was the only one that kind of like threw me off immediately when I saw the number. I was like, what? But yeah, like you said, that Isolde story kind of explains it a bit more better, I think. But yeah, no, that was really, really cool to see, and again, put them on the timeline of each other and just like kind of like put some puzzle pieces together.
Yeah,
There was definitely like Dawn had said, like we haven't seen the full roster of League, so there was definitely a few champions that we haven't seen before, but it was nice that they had like splash art for each of them, so some of them look really sick, like Syndra.
yeah, no, I don't even remember some of the heroes' names. I guess I'm like Syndra was who again? I'm gonna have to go back and look through them.
Dragon. Dragon Girl.
Oh
I'm gonna
yes,
call her Dragon Girl.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, she definitely was a drag girl. I got it paused up on a frame right here. I'm just gonna bring this up for just a second. Who is this? I'm like, whatever they said his name was, I'm like, sick. So there is a tree that's like, "Rrr."
Yeah.
like we got what's the other tree's name? I forgot his name already.
Ivern.
Ivern, right? Ivern's just so
This is-
cuddly and friendly and stuff like that, but he was vicious before.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like, I know I said it in previous videos, especially in Ivern's voice line video. I was like, man, I want to see Ivern when he was just like, "Rrr." And this dude on screen, I'm like, is like, "Rrr." So
Yeah.
I can't wait to see him. He's got like his own little like evil like tree sprites
I
around him.
know!
I'm like so evilly cute. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I definitely want to dive into his lore. I like there's so
Here-
many now.
Yeah, here's another one that we don't know anything about. Again, I forgot her name. We're not gonna watch the clips again, but any of these heroes that we're pausing on, definitely just drop the comments down below of who they are. I thought Ash was gonna love this one because you
Yeah.
like mermaids, and I saw her and my eyes lit up immediately on screen. I'm like,
Yeah.
whoa,
Yeah.
just because like some of the heroes that we've seen before, they're the pictures that Necrit decided to include in the video are very cool. Like,
Yes.
they just have a lot of cool splash art. Like this one on screen again just reminded me of Gwen. Just the whole like kind of dollish wind up thing
I was
in
gonna
the back.
say, yeah. I was like, wow, I love that there's actually like a wind up there.
But it reminds me like that she's from Piltover too, with how like techie and geary and stuff she is.
Yeah.
I'm like, wicked design. Honestly, a lot of these heroes were absolutely awesome. Rengar being around 60, I'm like, that's my dude, man. I just looking at Rengar makes me happy.
Yeah.
I'm like, the art for him makes me just happy. I'm like, I want a big like I have a plaqued first of all, plaqued posters are awesome. Awesome. And Ash, when she used to work at a print shop, made me a plaque of Kerrigan from StarCraft 2. And like, I gotta hang it. I'm right beside her. Literally right beside her. I want Rengar.
That'd be dope.
I'm like, oh my god, I don't know who's gonna take the left side yet, but for me, it's Kerrigan in the middle, Rengar on the right. He's going on the right. Why? That's where he's going. And somebody on the left. It's gonna be sick. So, yeah, no, I want to know what you guys' favorite champions are from this video. The set thing was hilarious. I'm like, dude, man's got facial hairs. He's got pecs bigger than dudes my age on steroids do. That man's boobies is big. No, he's jacked in a way he's 14. I'm like, that's got to be a running meme joke in like Riot or something. Like that's just hilarious. Yeah. So this whole video is very enjoyable. I know we didn't talk a lot through it, but I think that's just because we were trying to soak up all the information.
Yeah, for sure. Like, actually, I think it was really cool to see
Who was it?
Lilia.
Lilia.
I
Yeah,
almost
yeah.
said Nico, which was cool to see too, but Lilia, yeah, because we had such a huge age range with her. It was like, I forget, but it was like she was either like 80 or like 8,000, something like. There's such a big time gap.
It was between 40 and 1,000. I'm pretty sure it was between 40 and 1,000 where the ages on her. Yeah, let us know if there's like any hero champions that I'm gonna make somebody mad by saying heroes. Whatever, you know what I mean. So let us know whatever champion that you thought maybe was way younger or way older than they actually were, and who blew your mind. Because like, yeah, I would just so confident to say for more than 60% of them, I would say that we kind of either knew to put them in the young direction or the old side, right? Zyra surprised me.
Yeah.
Honestly, Zyra surprised me. I didn't think that Zyra here was 1,000 years old or so. It was I loved like when we got to all the heroes that I really wanted to hear the age of, and then it was just like Kindred. It was like Kindred, and I was like, okay, let's hear it. And it's like, yes. And I'm like, oh, damn it, I knew that was gonna happen.
Right?
Yeah. I'm like, damn it. I'm like, yep. Death is just there.
There.
Something exists. It's gotta die at some point, right? There you go. Damn
That's
it.
true. Yeah.
I'm like, so the only champion that has existed for I guess forever, other than ones that have been there from the start of the galaxy, is literally Death.
Yeah.
Like that's it. All the rest of them, like Aurelion Sol, Bard, and I think it was just if I'm missing any, let me know. But I think it's just for the ones that have lived forever. I literally think it's just Aurelion Sol, Bard, and the demons, and Death.
Yes.
And Death. I think everybody else has like either 10,000, 8,000, blah blah blah.
I was gonna say yeah,
but
even
I think it's only them. The demons. So Fiddlesticks, Tom Kench, any of the others I'm forgetting. None of the ones from the Void. We didn't get an age on the Watchers. Obviously, they're not champions, but it would be cool to maybe as in like an extra little tidbit. It would be cool. Maybe in the next time he does this video, if he ever sees this, it'd be really cool to add the age of the Watchers because they are just part of the world, and to see if they were also there since the start or after Aurelion Sol, before Aurelion Sol. Like, how do they fit in? Right.
Right. Yeah.
Cool.
For sure.
That was awesome. I got nothing else to say.
Yeah, that's super enjoyable.
All right, so let us know your favorite moments, your favorite champions, anybody who blew your mind, and I guess that wraps it up. Any other details that you want to share with us that I missed? And other than that, please like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. All right, bye.